peace, loving, romance, and the madness. You got me good, baby. Keep on coming back to you. I know that you know it, 'cause you already messed it up.
Good morning, everybody. This is Nate Manningham live from Indianapolis, Indiana. Today, we're going to talk about what job might we take if we can't have our pay protect jobs when the businesses start opening up. We have three options. Hey, everybody wants to hire Danny, Brian, and myself. We're also going to talk about, hey, how do we fire people when, you know what, when the customers are going? Is there a time? When should we do it? Sometimes life is just better when we fire our own customers. And lastly, we're going to talk about how in the world does this funding thing work in merchant services as we continue our Merchant Services 101. This is the High Five.
You got me paying questions are said, opinions hide, discussions are led, a show about nothing and everything. It's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. Time for the High Five. We've got it all covered. It's time for the High Five. We've got it all covered. Yeah. The High Five.
That's right, everybody. It's time for the High Five, and I am excited to bring up on the screen Mr. Brian Linky from Warsaw, Indiana, where I believe they're on the lookout for another 3 to 4 inches of snow. It's April, Brian. What do you think about that?
I think it's cold outside, Nate.
I think it absolutely stinks. And from the Rocky Mountains, Glenwood Springs, Colorado, the home of incredible elk. In fact, I think Barney the elk lives there, right next to Danny Shard. How are you, Danny? You got some snow on the ground there, or are you finally past all that and we just can't get past it here in Indiana?
Good morning, High Five Nation. We actually got some of that cold weather and a little bit of snow this morning. I'm not liking it. I want it to get to that 70-degree weather that we want for this spring. So we're close.
The guy's going to be here to open my pool today, supposedly.
Really? I want to see. Okay, that needs to be a Facebook Live if it's snowing and the pool is being opened. I mean, that right there.
Here's the thing. I normally wait until at least Mother's Day, but with the quarantine, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to turn the heat all the way up and the kids can do whatever and it'll give us something to do. Well, I didn't know it was going to snow 5 inches.
Oh, no, that is perfect. Cannonball, we need a slow motion video of the first cannonball by Brian Linky into the pool of the year. And I mean, snow on the ground makes it even more epic, I just want to say.
The rule of the pool is you have to go down the first time you're in it, you have to go down the slide head first.
There you go.
And I'm pretty sure there's some type of adult beverage that's involved with that. All right, gentlemen, we are going to have 5 great questions, 5 great topics that we're going to talk about. But the first thing, and the idea, this one came to my head last night. So if there were only 3 jobs left in the world, and I had to pick 3 that Mr. Shard, Mr. Linky, or myself could take, when this world opens up, what job would we take? They all want us because we have incredible pedigree in all these 3 services. Would you be a greeter, a host at the front of Walmart, welcoming everyone back as they are allowed back in more masses than they've ever been? Would you be the bartender at Applebees, welcoming everybody as they come back to Applebees to get their, I haven't been to Applebees in a year. Riblets? Is Riblets Applebees? You get some Riblets at Applebees. And then, lastly, would you be a barista at Starbucks? I don't know. Let's go Mr. Shard first, because I think Brian's going to have some fun with this. Danny, what are you going to do?
I actually thought this was a really funny question. I've only been in the payments industry, so even thinking about like doing something else is making my brain get stirred up. But I don't think I could handle Applebee's or Starbucks. I'm probably going to be the greeter at Walmart. You know, just hi to everybody and smile on my face and wave. I'm not shaking anybody's hand, that's for sure, even after the coronavirus. And I'm getting a paycheck for just being cool and saying hi. I think that's probably where I'm going to go if I only had those 3 to choose from.
Oh, absolutely. I think, Danny, here's one of the questions I had is working at Walmart. Is that job going to exist? They really didn't shake hands. They were waving. No. In fact, the main job, I'm going to be honest, I go to Target, not Walmart all that often. I don't have even one all that close to me. But I think they were wiping down and disinfecting. So their job may even be more important now. but that greeting job, I mean, other places have it. Like I know Target has a greeter sometimes, not all the time. Meijer has a greeter all the time, which is a local Midwestern version of the superstore. Brian Linky, what would you do of those three jobs?
It was an easy question. I mean, and the only reason because, okay, the barista at Starbucks, it's so hard. Okay, forget it. Okay, the bartender at Applebees, again, way too much effort, way too much work. I can't do it. The host at Walmart, it's right up my alley. It's in my time. It's like putting the ball on a tee, right? And having me hit it because I would be. And you know what's so funny, Nate, is that every time I do go to Walmart, which isn't very often, I go to Meijer a lot though. And every time I see those people, I always think to myself, you know, I would be so much better at this than you are. And then I go on my way. So the answer for me is easy. It's a host at Walmart because I'm telling you something, I would be in the Hall of Fame.
Nothing like Brian to turn in a host at Walmart, turning that into being competitive.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Right.
I'm going to be the best host there is. And
Absolutely.
the way it should be.
All right, so I was torn on this because I could see myself as a host of Walmart. I love Starbucks, so I could see myself crafting, though I think the rigidness of how they make everything the exact same, I haven't done something the same twice in a row ever in my life, so that may be a struggle. And I'm not sure that the clientele of Applebee's exactly would love me. I think I might go, a little beyond their head, maybe. Okay, maybe I'm stereotyping a little bit. But I thought, you know what? If I could bring quality cocktails to Applebee's, then that's what I would do. Because just to sit there and handcraft some amazing cocktails and not some shrimpy syrup margarita that they have in the back, that was what I was thinking I would do. But here's the question. Flipping the question again. Who would be the best of the three of us? Who would be the best Applebee's bartender? If they had to do it.
I would be the worst. I would be the worst.
You'd be the worst?
I'd be the best. I'm our family bartender at our family reunions, and I crush it. So I would absolutely be the best bartender.
All right. We'll go with that. And who would be the best barista?
Okay, here's what I know about this. Okay, and I'm just going to, from experience, okay, when Matt Hoskins had this idea of buying all these coffee shops right now, I was kind of like right in the middle of it. And I can tell you this right now. Those people, okay, they have my utmost respect because it is extremely hard to like get the whole thing. And then you got people like, if it's not right, okay, trust me, I would be the worst barista of all time.
I would second that. I would be even worse, I think. I'm not a coffee drinker anyway. I'm just up and at it. But there's so many options, right? I mean, you hear like
so hard
these orders, and it's just like, okay, it's way over my head. There's no.
So it's so hard.
So hard.
Yeah.
That is awesome. All right. On that, we're going to go to the next question of the music of the 80s. So I like to do these where we choose the best artists of a grouping, and I chose three artists that mostly got that are entrenched. They started before the 80s, or at least two of them for sure did. But their entrenchment, how they became superstars was all in the 1980s. As Danny said, he was born in 1984, so these were his first pop artists. Michael Jackson, Prince, or Whitney Houston. Here, say, Mr. Linky, we're going to you first. Who is the best of those three that made the biggest impact on you, or maybe is your favorite artist in the 1980s for those three?
Again, another easy question. Prince in a landslide. I just because Prince in a landslide, just because I like his music the best. I think a better question would be, who would you like to party with the most?
Ooh,
right?
All right.
Michael Jackson, Prince, or Whitney Houston, and it's Whitney Houston, and it's not even close.
1,000%.
Right? It's not even close. Right? Get me in the limo with her.
That goes a whole nother direction, boys. I like that.
That's it, right? Yeah. We don't have enough time on the show for all that.
All right. So
that's my answer, Prince.
Oh, and Prince was iconic during that time. His guitar skills and his music ability. And then I think it wasn't until the early 90s that he changed his name to the Symbol. I think that was early 90s. It may have been late 80s. Danny.
You know what? And I regret the fact that he was in Vegas when I was there one time at the Palm. And we were thinking about going and no, let's not do it. Okay. I regret it to this day.
I understand. Danny Shard, what say you?
I got to go with Whitney. Absolutely. But like you said, born in 84. I don't have too much on this topic. Like Brian, like, I mean, the king of the 80s, as he says. But yeah,
I dominated the 80s.
I got to go with Whitney.
What year did the Bodyguard movie? I'm trying to quickly search that right now on my phone. What year did the Bodyguard movie come out with Whitney and the I Will Always Love You?
Like 92 or something like that.
Yeah, because I mean she was already a superstar. I was just trying to remember IMDb. 1992. You were exact on. Nice job.
Wow,
man.
look at that.
Look at you. All right, so it was slightly after the 80s. That's where she hit the peak. I mean, that I Will Always Love You song. That thing. For me, I was a Michael Jackson fan, and I don't know. I didn't listen to. I've never been a huge musician. Music's always in the background, but I don't like dive in deep. But my sixth grade Mr. Dillon music class, we had to do a lip sync contest, and I remember I chose "I'm Bad" by Michael Jackson, and thank goodness there weren't YouTube videos from back then, because I will admit it. And then then we had to do a second one because I made it to the second round of the contest, and I did "Man in the Mirror." And so I'm gonna have to go with Michael Jackson. And thinking of made most impact in the 80s, Michael Jackson, from his beginnings in the 70s of the Jackson 5 all the way, his Thriller album, his dance moves, the way he did. I mean, he changed how concerts were done. Yep. Prince certainly changed music, but he was more late 80s, and I don't know that his impact was really seen as much until into the 90s. And Whitney Houston was just a pop superstar. She was just the true first diva. I mean, Beyonce wouldn't be who Beyonce is without Whitney Houston, but Michael Jackson just set a different stage. And now, everything's jaded and what we know about him and all the different things that were going on in his life. But just for him and his music, that Thriller album, the dance, he made music videos. To me, he was the biggest star of the 1980s. And I have to separate myself, from who he was as a person, because he created some great music, and certainly his genre of what he did with music videos and concerts and all those things were major in difference. Brian Linky, did you come on? You did some dancing to some Michael Jackson at some point.
Nate, I've done a lot of dancing to a lot of different artists. Okay, but again, we don't have enough time for all that. So, but no, Michael Jackson is, I think, out of the three of them, he's the most popular, right? I mean, he's most. He's most talented. I mean, if you're gonna have to rank him 1, 2, and 3, he would be the most talented, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As Jeff Zarrett has told, 1, he's telling us how wonderful the weather is, and 2, he is telling us that we're not young enough to have partied with Michael Jackson. I'm not sure what that means. All right. Okay, moving on. All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for going there for us. We were wondering who would, and well, you won our pool. Thanks. You just won me $20. I was guessing you would be the one. All right, so here we go. I'm going to throw a question in here because I changed the question. I was originally going to do this meme question from, I think from BuzzFeed or something, but instead I heard a news story this morning describing, so this is a little more hard-hitting. These guys don't even know what's coming to them. Yesterday, the U.S. Airlines got their $25 billion bailout. It was 70% grants, 30% loans, and it involved that in order to take this money, so let's take Delta, they, I think, took $4.8 billion, of which $3.2 billion is grants that they will never have to pay back as long as they don't lay off any employees through September, where they have to pay them back in the next 10 years. As part of that, the U.S. Treasury and the Americans, the three of us and everyone else that's listening in the wonderful United States of America, now own 1% of all these amazing airlines. Here's my question, boys. Is this a good deal for the U.S.? Are we going to be? I'm a stockholder of Delta, doggone, and I love Delta.
I don't know. I mean, I think it was, we kind of forced into it, right? I definitely think, obviously, the air travel is a necessity. So keeping them afloat is something that was it had to be done. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, though. Anxious to hear Brian Linky's take on this one.
I've got a bad taste in my mouth with the whole airline thing at this moment, just because I'm going to fight with United right now about. I had a trip planned out to San Francisco over spring break to see my son, and they're not giving me my money back. They're trying to give me like this credit that I have to use by the end of 2020, and so the airline thing is is a sore subject with me at the moment. But here's the thing, this is the first that I've heard of this. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem to me like it would be a bad thing. I don't know how good of a thing it is, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
Well, here's the thing. I placing it this way, and I'm going to totally take this. I listen to a podcast every morning called Robin Hood Snacks. It's a quick investing podcast, about 15 minutes. I know you guys are shocked it's from a podcast, but they were saying one of the things is this bailout would not have been necessary if they weren't doing two things. If they weren't taking all their cash and buying back stock and unnaturally inflating their stock price, ultimately making money for the stockholders, which their stockholders liked. But the problem is that's bad practice when you get into a desperate situation like this. And we would say in most industries, you shouldn't do that. So you're not going to get a bailout because you shouldn't have taken the billions of dollars of cash that you had on hand and put it in and ultimately inflated a stock price that didn't need to be inflated. But at this problem now, we are stuck. So how do we, and I have no idea, this is getting way deeper into economics and we don't want to take too long. But my question is, I don't want them ever doing this again. And I feel like they've done this before. This is a different situation than others. It was somewhat unpredictable, but we know that there are downturns every 10 years in which they're going to get in trouble because they are both a necessity and also something that's special and then we can pull away really quickly and not do. This one we took all the business travel and we're also sitting in our living rooms broadcasting live over the internet. But the question is here, how do we get them to not do this the next time? Because I don't want to keep giving them handouts because let's be honest, the fact is that 1% stock will either write down the debt a little bit of the U.S. government or most likely it's going to be a loss because they're going to do a stupid, dumb thing again. I don't know. I don't know. I got vented up on this a little bit this morning. I love Delta. I think they do. And we had to bail them out. There was no option not to. But I just man, how do we put it in the control that they don't do this again? And I don't know that 1% stock ownership is enough to control to keep them from not in. Because the fact is, we actually make more money if they buy more stock back next time they start making money 5 years from now. But I don't know. That was my thing. It's interesting to think about. I was looking around at all the places. We have about we're a little late today. We have about 90 people that are watching on all the platforms. Thank you so much. Deas to Beats, I love this. She said, greeter at Walmart when asking the question. D says, I love people and no one smiles there. It'd be great to challenge them to make them happy. And that is true. And all you have to do is the people of Walmart, just go into a meme poll. It'll make you a scared person for a little bit. So that is absolutely what we need to do. All right, here we go into our question number 4 for our high five on April 16th. What in the world do we do when we have customers that are either 1, not making us money, 2, cause more headache than the money they make us, 3, they cause us so much stress they're sending us into the crazy loony bin, and we need to fire our customers. We don't think about that often, but at times we need to fire them. We need to say, hey, I can't do business with you anymore. Even in the merchant services world where we simply are setting them up to take payments and we're making a little bit of residual off of that, there are times where the headache is just not worth it, and we need to say, you know what, go find someone. And what drives us? How high does the frustration or the loss of money need to go in order for us to fire a customer? Let's go to Brian Linky because he says he has to be careful on this, and we're going to try to get him all riled up.
Well, okay. So I think the first, you'd be lying if you didn't think this way. But depending on how much money you're making from a merchant that is making you a bunch of money, right? Cash discount. You got a POS in there. You've got a cash advance in there, whatever. So I think obviously that plays a role. But if you take that out of the equation, so now we're talking about merchants that aren't making you a lot of money. Right. And they're causing you, they're calling you all the time. They're texting you there all the time. And you're breaking your back for them. For me, okay. And again, I'm a crotchety old man, right? I'm not sure I've always felt this way, but I do now. The one thing, and again, depending on how much money you're making, because the people that are making me the money, I'm willing to do just about anything. I mean, that's just who I am. But threatening me, okay, where you're calling up and, I'm canceling if, see ya. I mean, that's just who I am today. I just don't like being threatened. And the reason I think, and I thought about this, Nate, when I saw the question, is I feel like I do more than just what the job entails. Okay, like I go the extra length to make my, I deliver paper on a weekend, or I take a call on a Sunday or something like that. And I just feel like I do a lot for my merchants that a lot of people probably don't do. And when they call me with like, well, if you don't do this, I'm canceling. I'm just at a point in my life where I guess it's just like, okay, see ya.
I can relate to that. I mean, I definitely thought interesting question, especially during this time. I mean, everyone's gonna have thicker skin and
Yeah.
do everything they can to keep customers like we always do, right? But I think everybody has one or a handful of those customers that just make you pull your hair out, right? The threaten is definitely one way to lose someone that's in your corner, right? I mean, because you're their trusted advisor, and when they take it that far, I'm not the guy for you, or I'm not the salesperson for you, or the advice. It's a tough line. I think at the end of the day, for most as salespeople, we've all learned to deal with all these different personalities, and some merchants are super easy, and some are very difficult, and some are crazy, and we adjust, right? And that's just who we are. But I think it comes down to the money, right? I mean, I talk often to partners that really try to avoid signing up the smaller merchants, because as we all know, the smaller ones are the biggest headache and take up the most of your time. And obviously being smaller, they make